of councils and the initial first meeting of the new training for the Regional Transport Committee. Now, we've got a few housekeeping matters just to quickly deal with. So we all go live or on, how are we going, Ben?
Recording.
Recording, so you know you're on camera, so on your best behaviour. Now, just by way of introduction, Neil Curtin's my name. This is a return circle for me. I was around the transport table something like 20 years ago. Yeah, coming back round, but in this context, very much a newbie around that. We've got several old hands here that will have to help me out on the way through. Thanks, Keith. Look, I think we'll just point out to you, in the event of an earthquake, you rock, cover and hold. If shaking is long or strong, what do? Leave the building through the nearest exit, and head up Napier Hill and jump off there. No, don't do that. In the event of emergency, an alarm will sound, and we'll go to the nearest exits, and those emergency exits are you can see there. Tea and coffee. Yeah. And you know where the toilets are, you probably know all those details. So I'll just declare the meeting open, but we'll just, I think what we'll start before even going to apologies, or we'll go to apologies now, so we know who's not here and who's subbing. So we've got Michael Fowler as the Hastings District appointee for the position, but we've got Derek here as the alternate, and you're going to be spending quite a bit of time with us, Derek, as well, I understand?
I believe so, yes.
Good, okay. So does everyone know Derek? I'm sure they do, Hastings District Council. Linda Stewart is NZTA, and she's not here today, but we've got Lisa here to sub in for Linda for NZTA. And you're going to be late, Kate, but you're not.
I'm not.
So no hold up on the expressway or anything like that. So welcome, Kate.
Thank you.
For those that don't know Louise Parsons, she's the newbie on the block from the regional council perspective, and so she's joining me as the deputy chair on the committee for to do a bit of an apprenticeship, and so we'll see where that lands over the next little bit. So welcome, Louise. Great to have you on board.
Thank you.
Coming back from UK, and we're just pleased to see you here. Look, now I'm seeing around the table some old faces and new faces, etc. So we've got Ian Emerson from Transport. So Ian, welcome, and
Thank you, Neil.
you're one of the old hands that'll have to help us out. And then we've got David Murray from. So you are the you are the Automobile Association. Sorry, Mobility. Yeah, good man. And Matt, greetings. Welcome on board. You've been around the table at it. You've been had a few.
About last year.
Yeah. Okay. And who else have we got? And we've got the venerable Keith Price here as well. So welcome, Keith, and great to have you on board.
Thank you.
So look, it might be also useful to intro the staff that do all the hard work behind the scenes. And sorry.
We've got online as well.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, Nicholas. Welcome. Good to have you on board. Now, who else have we got?
Sean.
Central Hawke's Bay.
Oh, Sean, Central Hawke's Bay. Yeah, good. So welcome. Good to have you on board. We'll just quickly do the intros. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah. So yes.
Let the staff introduce themselves. They're doing the hard yards here. Yes. So Russell, please.
Yeah. Kia ora koutou, Russell Turnbull. I'm the Transport Manager for the Hawke's Bay Regional Council, and the new Bryce is Richard.
Good morning all, my name's Richard Manning. As Russell's highlighted, I've come in to replace Bryce, who's left to go to Hastings District Council, I believe. Really great to be here. Very excited to be involved, and really looking forward to talking to you all about the plan for my plan, which is the RLTP.
Great, thank you. Donna will be our ongoing secretary, is that right?
Correct,
That's
yes.
going to work?
Yes.
So you'll see Donna a lot.
But Daniel Hedefin joined us online too, from Kiwi Rail.
Oh, okay. Daniel, can't see you. Oh,
He's taking the corner.
okay.
Kia ora, sorry, I'm just having the IT problems. I've had to keep joining in.
And sitting in the back row, we've got a couple of an old hand, Jag, from Hastings District. Great to see you.
Hastings District Council Transportation Manager.
Yeah.
I'm probably sitting on this committee 25 years, I would say probably. I've seen so many changes.
Good to see you, Jag. Yeah. And Connie, a newbie. Good to see you.
Kia ora koutou, Connie Willen Mills from Mackie City Council just picked up the transport portfolio.
And Guy. Kia ora. You're a visitor. Would you like to join us and join the committee?
It's very kind of
You'll
you.
pass?
I'm quite happy just to sit here, but thank you.
Great to see you, Guy. What are we doing next?
And also Sean is from Central Districts,
Yes.
and he's the similar officer level.
So, Sean, you're in the officer brigade as well?
Yes, for Central Hawke's Bay.
Good on you. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's. This meeting is significantly about just getting some formalities out of the way, and so we'll try and make it as expeditious as we can. And I think we've got some folk looking to get away. What do we? We'll try and get out of here before 12. So that's the goal today, is to make these things as efficient and effective as we can. If you just have to shut me up, that's the only job you'll have to make sure we get out of here in time. I think we'll get underway. We did those apologies, so we need to have a mover for that, Donna.
Yes, please.
Right. So we've got those. We've got those apologies from Michael Fowler and Linda Stewart. Were there any others?
I'll move those.
You're moving those, Keith?
Angela for lateness as well.
Angela's going to be late. Of course, yeah, we'll get Angela when she comes in, and she'll have to give us a 10-minute speech as to why she was late. So we've got those two apologies and one for lateness. Moved and seconded. So moved by Keith, seconded by Kate. All those in favour will say aye. Aye. Those against will say no. That's carried. Any conflict of interest declarations? Has anyone got a conflict in regard to anything that's on the current agenda? I wouldn't be surprised if there was, but so there'll be none. What do we do now? We've got our first paper of the training, and that is simply to receive the terms of reference and member appointment staff report. You'll have had that on page 5, and just by way of confirmation, you'll see there at paragraph 4, 4.1, 4.2, myself and Louise. We've got the Central Hawke's Bay District Council, Kate. That's you've been appointed there, so we'll just note that.
And Will Foley.
And Mayor Foley, Mayor Will
is-
Foley is
Oh, really?
alternate.
Oh, okay, good. Michael Fowler, and then we've got Derek. You've been nominated there for the off-course substitute. Keith and Richard is the sub there. Keith. Now, Wairoa. Do we know anything about Wairoa's nominees? No. All right, we'll just have to leave that vacant for the moment.
I think Craig Little's been in hospital,
Oh, has he?
so maybe we should put him in as a late apology.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's getting out of
been here
hospital this
before.
morning.
Is he normally here?
Yeah, and I think he might be a member, but I'm not sure who the alternative is.
Sure. Okay. Well, we'll find that out in time.
We add him to the apologies.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll add me a little to the apologies for the moment. Very important that Wairoa around the table, that's for sure. Now we've got, so that's Wairoa. 4.7, we've got Linda as the rep for NZTA or Wakakatahi, and Lisa, you're the off-course sub there. Daniel, Kiwi Rail. Of course, online. Yep. Daniel, you're Kiwi Rail. We've got Angela, she's going to be late. Nicholas, David, Ian, Nick Flack.
Nick may send his apologies.
Here's an apology.
Yeah, they've got their new electric plane at the airport today, so I thought he'd better be there.
Okay. I hope I don't run out of power.
No.
So we need to record him as an apology as well then. Okay, so we'll retro the apologies for that. And Matt, thank you. And the rep from the Māori Committee, do we know what's happening there? No?
The Māori Committee hasn't been
Haven't met,
established
okay.
yet,
So
so
they'll come
they
later.
will come later.
Okay, sure, okay. Alrighty, so a 15-member committee, quite a big number for committee structure. So we've got to be sort of hard-hitting, tight, and if you like, say what we're going to say quickly to get through a meeting in the time that we want to. So we've got a resolution on that. As a separate resolutions, do we need to accept that? What do we do there, Russell? We do the terms of reference first.
This is your resolution.
The whole thing's a resolution. So you'll see in the under the brown heading, the brown background there is the recommendation. Although, do we need to adopt the terms of reference?
No, just regional council adopt them.
Does this committee doesn't have to adopt them? Okay, all right. So you've got those the appointments there. Can I have a mover to receive those are the appointment staff report, please? Yeah, thanks, Louise. Thank you, David.
I can't.
Can't.
It's only the ones on this side.
Sorry, only here for the.
Sorry, just to confirm, are we the whole lot?
Yes, for that's all the recommendation. The only recommendation looks to be the appointments. So all those in favour of receiving those appointments will say aye.
Aye.
Those against will say no. That's carried. I think it's worth though talking about the terms of reference, and you'll find those on page 8, because how many of us are new? Very few.
You and Louise.
Just us.
Oh, no, and
Louise. So in fact,
Derek.
and Derek. Yeah, okay. I'm talking about newbies, Derek. So
All right.
look, the terms of reference give a very good overview of what we're here for, and those that have been around the table, this is nothing new. But obviously preparing the plan is the sort of pinnacle of the work of the committee, and I'm sure everyone has got a copy of the plan. If you haven't, we can get one printed off for you. I found this, I've sort of hadn't absorbed it much at all, even though the Regional Council adopts it, and I've spent the last little bit looking at it, and it's an extremely good plan. I think that the last group under, the last committee under Martin Williams has done a great job of pulling that together. So if you've had an input into that, I think it's a great document reflecting all the things that happened to us over the past at least 3 years, and pulling that together, and I think that needs acknowledging. So we prepare a plan, we prepare policies, we also prepare the regional public transport plan, and you will note today the advances we've got around implementing much of that plan. Our job is to monitor how things are going. One of the things that I hadn't appreciated as a part of the function of the committee was to consider those emissions issues. Is it by statute? What's the obligation of?
No, I don't
it's
think
something
so.
that's
It's
been
council
included
policy.
by council, is to include the emissions in there, and there's an excellent section in. I had to go and dive into this morning to have a quick look. In fact, in the long-term, in terms of the plan, transport plan itself, at page 28, there's an excellent overview of our missions profile for the region, and I think that's worth keeping on the radar, despite the sort of the winds blowing against keeping an eye on emissions on the radar. I think we would be serving the public well by doing so. Plan and provide for active transport in the region. Advocate for, and I think this is really the nub of what we can do best is advocate. We've got a schedule, and again, reflecting on the good work done by in the last triennium, we've clearly got the expressway up and going. We've got the Waikari Gorge. Now that's a biggie. Winning the Waikari Gorge work, getting that through and advocating for that. I can recall that going back to something like 2017 when that was initiated. And I think getting that over the line, given the population base and criteria that NZTA put on that, I think that's a triumph for the region, notwithstanding the cyclone precipitating that to some extent. The public transport network reorganisation, I think, is a credit to the last group of decision makers around this table, but particularly the cyclone relief. I think we've done a superb job of standing up infrastructure around the region, getting things running again, and I think with Trek and Co, there's a lot of work to be done, but I think we can take some pride in the fact that we've been able to stand up so much infrastructure so quickly, so many bridges. Hastings, for example, so many bridges that they had to repair. It's set the region back a long way in terms of our financial resources, but at least we can move around the place and get going again. And State Highway Business Case Safety and Efficiency Project, another, if you like, standout piece of work done by the previous committee. So we'll leave that at that. You know what those terms of reference are about. Where are we up to, Donna? Let's go to the second paper. That's on page 12 of your agenda, and it's information performance reporting. Who's going to do that, Russell?
So I'll quickly intro, and then I'm going to pass to Richard just to make some comments. So as the Chair has said, the next Regional Land Transport Plan is the number one objective of this committee, is to get that up and get that running, and then eventually recommend it to Council. So it's going to be a main focus of this committee over the next 3 years, and Josh can talk a bit more about it.
Great, thank you, Russell, and thank you, Neil, for the introduction. I guess the first thing I would say is I'll take the paper as read. So the paper just kind of talks briefly about the legislative framework within which we operate. So things like the LTMA, the key players within the transport system. So the importance of
Keith.
Just a question about why you get in. Can you give us a quick rundown of where you've come from and what you've done?
Absolutely.
Sorry, I should have done that.
So it will give you credibility in what you say to us.
Well done, Keith.
Good point. Thank you, Keith. I've spent 15 years in the public service in Wellington. 5 of those at internal affairs and policy roles, and the previous 7 years at the Ministry of Transport, working in investment policy. So my role was to draft and write the government policy statement on land transport, and also help to support the government's transport budget, which is my role.
Okay, I'm happy to listen to you now.
Thank you, Keith. So basically, it's just a broad-based overview paper of the legislative framework within which we operate. So it talks about, as I highlighted, the key players within the system. So the role that NZTA plays, the role that the ministry plays, and also the importance of the GPS, or the government policy statement on land transport. So just coming back to the GPS, that will be a really critical document for developing the RLTP. So that basically sets the government's strategic direction around what we should be focusing the local investment on as we apply for funding through NZTA. So we have had some conversations with Transport Special Interest Group, which is TSIG, and they've also had some conversations with the Ministry of Transport, and our understanding at this stage is that the GPS will be published a draft GPS will be published around the middle of next year. What we expect from the GPS is not a lot of change from the current GPS, so we expect the current strategic priorities to be very similar. And those strategic priorities are focusing on economic growth and productivity, increased maintenance and resilience, safety, and also value for money. There may be a bit of a shift to things like supporting housing growth, given the Minister of Transport's joint responsibilities and infrastructure responsibilities. But yeah, so that's kind of the focus at this stage. Shifting more to what I described earlier as the plan for the plan. So we have 18 months to draft and this committee to approve a regional land transport plan. So that's, as the chair has highlighted, that's the core function of this committee, is to develop and approve that plan by the regional council. So if I direct people to page 16, is probably the key points in this paper. It kind of provides a three-phased overview of the plan to develop and deliver the RLTP. So we'll be working through three key phases. So the first is developing the planning and the fundamentals. So this is where we look at the strategic priorities for investment within the region and ensure that they're consistent with what the region wants to do. Noting obviously that this is a review rather than a refresh of the RLTP. So every 6 years we're required to completely refresh the RLTP, which was done in 24, and this would just be a review of the current RLTP. Again, highlighting a key decision point here is the June meeting of this committee, where we will look to get the strategic context agreed. Prior to that agreement, we'll also run a number of workshops with this committee to develop that strategic context so that we're all on the same page. Following the first phase, we'll move into what I'd consider to be probably one of the most important phases, which is programming and drafting the RLTP. So this is where we take things from the activity management plans and feed those into the actual RLTP. So this is when we actually determine the level of investment in transport within the region. And again, there'll be a number of workshops through the middle of the year working towards the end of the year, where we will seek approval from this committee to undertake public consultation on the RLTP. Early in 27, there'll be a series of public hearings run by this committee again, and also we'll also seek formal approval to undertake public consultation where the public is invited to submit on our draft plan. And then middle of 27, we'll come back for formal approval before going to council for approval. So yeah, that's basically concludes my discussion on the plan for the plan, as I said. But more than happy to take any questions on that.
If I could just add, Mr. Chair, just an overview. So the Regional Land Transport Plan encompasses all the road controlling authorities' input into that. So that's every council and NZTA. And so when you talk about activity management plans, that's all the strategy and priorities of each of those councils in our region. And the State Highway Investment Plan as well gets pulled into that as well. So it's a significantly collaborative effort to put this plan together. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Great, thanks, Russell. Any questions for the team? This is an overarching, if you like, kick-off paper, and what I'd like to do now is just quickly push back to you, and if you could identify one, possibly two issues that you want to see from your perspective, if particularly if you're representing a sector or a council that you'd like to see develop. What's your why are you here? So I'm going to start round the table and just give us a quick 1 or 2 point update or overview of the items you'd like to see on the agenda for going forward. So actually, we'll start with you, Lisa. We'll start at your end. Why are you here?
Obviously, here representing NZTA, we cover the state highways, but also work collaboratively with our council partners on a day-to-day basis. Also, as we sit on the RTC, supporting the development and implementation of the Regional Land Transport Plan, and regularly providing insights and information on our activities on the network as a means of informing on the delivery of the RLTP.
Right, Keith, what do you want to see in the next 3 years?
Well, obviously for Napier, we don't have a lot of state highways, but so we support every highway around us because we are with the port, are a pretty important little stint. I mean, conscious of the road to the port. We've always got to keep our eye on that. But one thing we've sort of come out quite clear in our plan, we need to have anything that's possible, because if it's not on there, it won't get anything. So, and I think the gorge might have been an example of something we've kept there, and it got its result. If we'd taken it out thinking we're never going to get there, well, it wouldn't have happened. So, I mean, it's conscious of just keeping things in that plan, even though they might seem not a chance. They won't get there if we don't have them in there. But for Napier, I mean, my main thing, I mean, obviously the highway going in is great for us. And, yeah, that's it. That's it for us. Connie, have you got anything on that?
I think you're well covered.
Geez, that's a good answer. Now I'm covered.
Kate, tell us from a CHB perspective.
Yeah, from us, it's us being around the table is trying to remind Napier and Hastings that CHB and Wairoa are there all the time, because a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the money, a lot of the people, a lot of the projects are rightly so in the bigger centres. So, and as Keith said, what happened with the Waikari Gorge was as a result of this table, the regional teamwork that went on around this table, keeping that as our top priority for the region. Expressway is another one, the work that's being done there. So from a CHB point of view, it's keeping the resilience of the State Highway 50 and State Highway 2 links to the centre part of Hawke's Bay, and that we are your link to the south. And for the council in particular, the revocation of State Highway, currently the State Highway officially runs down Ruataniwha Street in Waipokoro, the main street, but we've got a bypass and we're trying to swap that over, because there's very little that we can do on the main street of our largest town because it's the State Highway. So to get that bypass, there are other reasons, but and the other one is the stranded asset that what I call a stranded asset of the cycleway between Waipokoro and Waipawa, where a lot of users don't want to ride their bike over the Waipawa Bridge, and with the last GPS, the removal of the active transport and the cycles and things like that, it just was never going to get higher up the priority list. But for us, it's actually just important for our district to have that sort of thing remain on the list.
Well, as Keith says, we've got to keep it on the radar. So,
yeah.
So it's good. Any comment on public transport to and from Central Hawke's Bay, perhaps to Hastings Napier?
We would love to see that commuter trial take place.
Yep.
But we understand cost. We understand, little, the population to use it. But we would like to see it stay on the list. We in that last triennium of all the public consultation that we did, the most immediate bang for dollar was the question we asked: would you support commuter trial between us and up to Napier and Hastings? And we got 300 plus in a week. And
Responses to
took
that.
that as being, and in response to that, there's actually some people that are now ride sharing and things like that, but it is important to, to keep that on the list, and hopefully it'll happen, because if it's not there, they won't use it, or can't use it, rather.
Great, thank you. Louise, you've been advocating for, very badly affected communities. What do you see for the next 3 years in terms of?
Yeah, probably my jam, if you like, has been advocating for, after the flood, for rural communities, especially out our way, in Eastdale, Whirinaki, etc., all the cut-off communities. I guess, why am I here? I was nominated to be here. I don't know that transport was my choice, but I'm glad I am here because I cut my teeth in transport. I worked for Freightways 100 million years ago, but it's where I did my apprenticeship, so I know a fair wee bit about transport, and I think it's exciting. Obviously, it's a link for the economy, a link full stop because of what we've seen. Public transport, I'm interested in learning way more about that. I live somewhere where we don't have it, so I won't be advocating for that, but also live somewhere, and this is probably off-piste, but the rural community lost the school buses, and I think that's, when I'm reading through these papers, I think, well, that's is counterproductive in everything that we're talking about when you're putting more cars on the road because of it, emissions, all of that stuff. So I'd be keen to
See if we can
have a look at that somehow. Yeah.
Derek, your district has been shattered by.
Well, you asked for one reason, so I've trimmed down from about 80 down to 2 or 3. But certainly the most important one I see at the moment really is the road from Napier up to Wairoa, and the alternate route of being Darky Spur. We've got to have NZTA involved in that as an alternate route. My background is very much seasonal transport, and that's carting large amounts of fresh produce. So all the bridges are very important. I've just learnt that another bridge has got the go-ahead at Fern Hill. So very, very pleased to hear that. And one other thing that I campaigned on is to try and move the Napier Taihape Road into being a state highway. But that's fairly well down the list really for all the other infrastructure that's going on in the area.
Great, thanks, Derek. Matt, give us a Whatuora perspective.
Kia ora. So obviously, from a health and wellbeing lens to things as well. Background as a GP and now public health doctor for the last 10 years or so. So I guess when thinking about a plan that's about moving, not just about moving in cars, but people physically moving as well. We know in Hawke's Bay, only about 40% of people are getting enough physical activity, and 2/3 are overweight or obese as well. So transport plays a large part in getting people moving and acting, and the happiest people are the people that are biking and moving as well. It's great for mental health as well-being as well. But obviously we're within tight constraints from the government GPS as well. You can see that budget, it's a rounding area for active transport, about 1 or 2% on the budget as well. So trying to advocate that, and also thinking about transport not just as moving, but they're also places, there's spaces. The council's probably one of their largest land area as well. So people, there's spaces not just from moving people from A to B as well.
Thanks, Matt. David, can you help us out with the ordinary old motorist on the road?
Yeah. Well, we're obviously, our key is safe, efficient mobility, but that also encompasses walking and cycling and all those other aspects as well. We're very happy to assist with any lobbying, which we have done in the last 3 years, particularly with regards to State Highway 2, having lobbied alongside the mayors of all the districts. One key thing that I think we're very thrilled with the fact that we've got State Highway 2 and the expressway well and truly underway. However, there is one other area that does raise concerns, is the State Highway 5 and the Mohaka Bridge. If that goes out in another event, there's no alternative. And so if the bridge was happened to fail, in the past there was another bridge, so there's an embankment and that sort of thing. So there's the opportunity to explore an alternative if Mohaka Bridge ever goes out. But that's one thing I think we shouldn't lose sight on, because State Highway 5 is so important to this region.
Thanks, David. And Ian, tell us about trucking and transport in the region.
Well, it's all been said, so last on the list. Don't need to go over old ground, but obviously the objective for me is to make sure we keep efficient transport in and out of Hawke's Bay, and we've got some fairly delicate routes for that. But probably one of my main objectives is to maybe review the compliance and the traffic management of roadworks and rebuild. I think it's costing the country, the region and our industry and general public far too much. And I'm not saying we want to put safety as a secondary thing, but I think there's too much backside covering in the whole thing, and it's compounded into just a monster that doesn't need to be there to the same degree. I see the government at least are doing some reprieve on resource management, which might reflect through into that, I think. So, yeah.
Good point. Thank you. Online, Nicholas, can you help us out, please?
Of course. So as representing Napier Port here, for me, objective is to sort of protect and enhance the network that's connecting Napier Port with the import and exporters of the Hawke's Bay region, but also beyond. Now we do have customers coming also from beyond the Hawke's Bay region, from Manawatu and Taranaki and so on. So I think it's important to also keep the connections, as Ian said, from Hawke's Bay to the rest of the country. So it's protecting that corridor that is quite essential and unique in Napier, as Councillor Price said. No, we've got one route into the port that's going through Hauriri, which is competing for potentially some other usage, and there's lots of trucks and sometimes out of gauge truck moving through that corridor. So it's quite essential that we keep this in mind to keep the economy going and the productivity and efficiency for businesses.
Right. Thanks very much, Nicholas. And Daniel, can you help us out from a Kiwi Rail perspective?
Yes, you can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I've had some IT problems getting myself sorted. So, yeah, from a Kiwi Rail perspective, keen to be available to both help with giving advice on what the capability of the rail connection, the Napier to Palmerston North route in particular, what it can and sometimes what it can't do. The customer focus that QRail has, and we've got particularly important customers in Napier Port, in Napier. And yeah, just that when there is queries on rail potential, being able to provide information on that, but also able to advocate where appropriate for rail use as a very safe method of transport, a very environmentally friendly method of transport, and sometimes, being frank, it can be a bit of an overlooked method of transport compared with other forms.
Right. Thanks so much. Obviously, we've got a couple of notable absentees, particularly with police, and we shouldn't leave the safety angle out of any discussion about transport. It's our most lethal engagement that we partake in, and we often take for granted and accept, I think, death and injury on the road without too much thought going into what we can do. And clearly there are solutions, particularly engineering-wise, to help that out, plus also the work of RoadSafe. So I think they need to be reflected in any of our ongoing discussion. The next, and in Craig Little's absence, I think, and it was already mentioned, I think, Derek, in terms of the corridor going up to on State Highway 2, going to Gisborne, we've already got, I think you folk might be able to help me out, you've advocated for a business case for the Napier to Gisborne corridor. Was that discussed at?
I think it's in there. It's quite high up, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was quite high up, yeah.
I can't remember the priority of it.
Sure.
I'd stand to be corrected. I'm pretty sure it's in there, but I forget the priority.
Sure.
Russell, through the chair. Oh, sorry. Yes.
I was going to say, as part of the truck work, there was a corridor business case from a resilience standpoint. Russell, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that there was an activity put forward for both Tairāwhiti and Hawke's Bay for a strategic resilience, and that came down to a prioritization of the network. Should an event occur, where would we want to reinstate first and focus our investment? And I believe that Tairāwhiti was funded and maybe Hawke's Bay wasn't.
Through the chair, through the Regional Development Agency, Economic Development Agency, there's been some ministerial work done on what would a business case look like for additional investment in the resilience of the corridor between Napier and Gisborne. That was gave enough positive results that we backed up an approach to do a full business case on investment in the state highway network between Napier and Gisborne. So, as Lisa said, there are funding priorities, and the Gisborne had a higher level priority, but we're just trying to now unlock some of the funding that's available locally and nationally, and that's our next step. But so far, it looks good.
Could you, through you, Mr. Chair, just a clarification, did you say READER or RRA for the?
READER.
READER, yep, thank you.
So just to summarise that, a business case led by Tairāwhiti.
Yes.
So they've been successful in their bid to NZTA for a business case to part fund the business case, as I understand it, and then Hawke's Bay via READER had agreed, or was an agreement in place for READER to have funded the balance of that or contribute to that to the tune of 250k, something like that?
Between around 100 and 150.
Oh, 150?
150, yes. So
what we've got to, and again, gets down to our role, advocacy and opportunity, is to advocate and ensure that money, because we know we've got some adjustments coming down the pipeline for READER, is to make sure the money doesn't drift off and to someone else's bank account and comes in to support that very important piece of work. So at least let's put it on the radar and make sure we've got line of sight on that from this committee. That corridor is a vital piece. Kate?
I believe the Matariki Governance Group is receiving a report from READER, so it might be worthwhile all of us touching base with our leaders and getting them to ask or mention it.
Great. Yeah,
Through you, Chair, if I might add, from what I understand, this is through the Economic Development Corporation. Yes, so this is the economic aspects. However, when we're talking about the transport effects, that's what we would be talking about from a business case standpoint from NZTA. We do acknowledge and would use that information as part of the strategic case to build that level of investment required. However, the track business cases already cover a number of these corridors, so any future investment, we would use this information.
Sure.
Such as the Hawke's Bay Expressway, we did use the information provided to substantiate that investment.
So a very important piece of work that we need to keep an eye on. There are two other elements that I want to comment on. One is sort of close to my heart, and that is the bridges at Awatoto. I think it's critical that we keep our pedal to the floor in making sure we get significant improvements there to prevent, to protect the region. It's not only from the rail bridge, Kiwi Rail, but also for the road bridge as well, to make sure we've. It's simply not going to be good enough to have replaced or restored the current situation and leave it as it is for the next event to take hold. It's just not going to be viable. There's too much infrastructure at Awatoto to ignore. From a city perspective, there's about $1 billion worth of producing assets down there. We've got to protect those. It's a vital piece of infrastructure. So I want to add that piece to the list to keep our radar going on that. The last one, and we'll see that as the very last paper of the day. We'll cover that off, but clearly the elephant in the room is what happens to the Transport Committee going forward. And again, in our advocacy role, we're needing to come to a collective position about what we think and where the Regional Transport Committee should go. So we're going, to me, it's vital that we retain a regional decision-making and advocacy role for the region at this level. The alternative is somewhere, some young graduate, 22-year-old in Wellington, telling us in Hawke's Bay, probably never been further north than Palmerston or something, and will be telling us what to do in our patch. So we're needing, one of the, I think, crucial roles of this committee will be to provide a roadmap to the decision-making that is going to take place about what the future looks like. So we can cover that off later in the paper today. So we've got those thoughts of everyone. They are important to feed into the planning process, but also to actually put on the radar now. And if submissions are needed earlier than the plan enables, then we need those to be advanced well and ahead of that planning process. So we've got this particular paper, and it's a noting paper. It's a recommendation. Have I got a mover to just receive that paper? Can we have a mover there? Thanks, Kate and Keith. All those in favour will say aye. Those against will say no. That's carried. We'll go to the Public Transport Network paper 5.2, page 17. Has everyone got line of sight on that paper?
Chair, I'm going to just move to the front of the room.
Good man. Good on you.
Through the Chair, Committee, what I plan to do is take the paper as read. I also have a presentation to do with that paper as well. What I did want to just pick out of the paper first, though, is just with regards to the risk management matrix, which is really critical, recognising what has to be in place for this network to be ready on the 25th of January. And what I am pleased to be able to say is that both Napier and Hastings councils yesterday are committed to having the stops in place in time by the 25th. There's still a few stops to be resolved, and that was always going to be an issue. Risk number 6 was public opposition to those stops. So where possible, we will look for alternatives to those where there's good reason. Otherwise, those stops will go back for further decisions by council early in the year. So those are the two key risks that have been obvious and have emerged and are being looked after. So what I want to do is basically cover off risk number 5, and that is that the public won't know enough about what's going on with the network. And you'll actually see in the room today and in front of you just some of the beginnings of the publicity around this. And I will just launch this presentation. So what I'm going to go through is a little bit of background, because we do have some new members to this committee. And the first question that everybody asks is, why are you making this change? And we're making the change is because since 2013, we've seen a steady erosion in the number of people catching buses in Hawke's Bay. So we can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a sudden increase. So some of the members of this committee will have been here in 2022 when we actually did a review of the public transport plan, and actually through development of that plan began to understand what some of the issues were. And a lot of that is around, we have a very confused bus network. We're trying to do everything for everybody and doing not a lot for as many as we could. And so we've got buses that loop around, they do one-way loops, people don't know where to get on or where to get off. And we know that led to confusion. People also told us that we're not running the buses as often as we should, or as late or as on 7 days of the week as we should. So what an answer to all of that is a more direct service, a service that buses, if they go out on one street, they come back on the same street. So you basically get on a stop on one side of the road and get off on the other. So it's a very legible network. By doing that, by untwisting everything, you actually make bus trips faster because you're not meandering through suburbs. And so that's what we've attempted to do by that. And this little graphic here just shows you that effect of moving from a coverage-based service to a patronage-based service. None of this happens without a full public consultation process. So there's a process that went through in 2022, but for obvious reasons such as cyclones and driver shortages, then was not the time to be putting the effort into a new bus network. We reconsulted this year in the review of the public transport plan, and that change was reaffirmed. So we went through a significant amount of consultation, which included obviously the typical written submissions, but we also went out there and talked to 30 different groups about what we wanted to do with the network. And we made sure we targeted those groups who have a particular need for efficient public transport. So we targeted youth councils, we targeted the elderly, we targeted people with disabilities, as well as the general public. And using modern technology, we use digital feedback a lot as well. So the committee in the previous triennium heard the public hearings, heard what people were saying, and approved the new regional public transport plan. Nothing's done without good data nowadays, and the graphic in front of you represents how current boardings per stop maps against the new network, and what you're seeing, for instance, is what we're planning for Flaxmere. So we made sure that all the bus routes were touching the key points where we knew a lot of people were getting on the buses already. So that was really, really important. We had that kind of data. The committee should be aware that part of the plan was that we were going to cease the trial of MyWay and revert back to a full bus network in Hastings. But we needed to be very clear that we continued to provide a service to those who were using MyWay. So again, through technology, we know where people were getting on and off MyWay. So we made sure that the new bus network touched all of those key points. And the final one, and this goes back to bus stops being in the right location, we want the bus network to be accessible. So the public transport plan says that 80% or so of people in Napier and Hastings should be no further away than 350 to 400 metres from their local bus stop. So once we get the routes in place, we then plot out where the bus stops need to be to enable that target to be met. And again, technology comes into trying to make that happen. And so those darker patches there show you what the catchment is around those bus stops. So doing all that consultation and all that data assessment gets us a new network. And I won't dwell on this because it's a whole big network. But what we heard from is that the new network not only had to reach our current people, but do new things. So there was a loud call which has been responded to get the buses out to the airport, and that will happen for the very first time for this region. The sports park is an incredibly important destination for many, many people in the region, and it's a fantastic facility. And for the first time, the main Napier Hastings route will go through the sports park, which is going to make travel, getting children or whatever to sports a whole lot easier. And what you'll see is a little bit later is we're going to dive a little bit deeper into some areas of growth in our region. What we can't do is at this stage with the constrained budgets is increase the number of services operating per hour or going later at night. We need to wait for another day when finances are looking a bit more healthy. So in Napier in detail, we talked about the airport, but other places that the bus network will reach to now is Kmart and Mitre 10, for instance, which are, especially Kmart's a key shopping destination. We've straightened out the route through Maraenui and made sure that we've achieved a request for people in the Bupa Retirement Village up in Willowbank Road there to get a service. Also, the EIT gets additional service directly from the Tamatea, Parklands and Taradale areas as well. Over in Hastings, I talked about the sports park that gets the key Napier Hastings service. But what we realised doing all our work is that a major centre of employment, the Omahu Road industrial area, didn't have a service, and not surprisingly, a lot of people from Flaxmere work there. So we've created a route that goes from Flaxmere through the Omahu Road industrial area. But reminder, this is a two-way service, so this enables people to connect onto it in Hastings to get to their work on Omahu Road. That same service is the main service that also supports the hospital. Also a point is we have our major new future development areas around Arataki, Arataki Road in that area, and then on the other side of Havelock North around Middle Road, Iona Road. So we're making sure the services are in place as those new suburbs are developed. So, sorry, wrong way. So the new service starts on 25th of January, which is a Sunday. We always start new networks on a Sunday because there's less risk if there's any problems with the ticketing machines or whatever. We get everything sorted out for Monday when it really counts. The services are more direct and they're connected with more of the places that people want to go. But what we know from other implementations like this is only change what you need to change. So we're not changing the bus fares, we're not changing the drivers, we're not changing the actual buses. So all of those familiar components remain the same. We're only doing what we need to do on the 25th of January. Talked about My Way finishing, replaced by new scheduled routes covering more destinations. But we've learnt a lot from My Way, and as I demonstrated earlier, we're making sure the routes are in the best place possible to serve as many of the My Way customers as we can. And what's really important to note is that it's not going to be perfect, but we're going to make sure that those customers are also aware of the alternatives. For instance, Total Mobility, which is the discounted taxi service, it's a 75% discount on the normal fare. That's available for people who qualify who can't otherwise access public transport, typically through to some kind of impairment. So how are we going to make this change? So we've got our, what we call our GoBuddy ambassadors. We've got 2 summer students out there. They've been out there for the last 2 weeks. They're on buses, they're on the My Way vans, they're at bus stops. They're currently out at the airport, and they're also going to be delivering notices to particular affected streets like Tate Drive. So they're going to be out and about talking to as many people as possible, carrying around timetables, talking through everything. And they are going to have a specific focus on the more vulnerable users of our public transport system, the disabled and older user groups. Someone might say, why are you going out so early? Because we're still 6 weeks away. It's because those vulnerable members need to know early. They've got to get their head around what the changes are going to be. We're also going to be popping up a lot of new bus stops and retiring a lot of bus stops. So we're going to make sure we've got temporary signs on them. So people in the neighbourhood say, what's this coming to my area? We'll make sure that there's a sign there that really stands out. And of course, those people who are standing at a stop that might disappear, they need to be told as well where their new stop is going to be. As well as being out on the network and at bus stops, we obviously need to go a bit further because end of the day, we want more people catching our buses. So we're going to be using extensive radio and newspaper advertising, which is very traditional type of advertising, but we're also going to be using bus and bus shelter ads as well, so you'll see the buses driving around with big ads on the sides and back of them. Social media is really important, and we can use social media to do targeted messages, so special messages to the likes of Flaxmere, special messages to the likes of Arataki, etc. So it's a really good way of getting the message out about the particular changes in each area. And we're also going to do a little bit with cinema, which is a bit different. It's very affordable, so the 4 main cinemas here in Hawke's Bay will be, in Napier and Hastings, should be used. And with the Chair's grace, I will just show the ad that will be appearing in the cinemas. I'd just like to give a shout out to the Council's communications team. All of this has been done in-house, including that ad there, and the work they've put into giving all of this a fresh new look is certainly appreciated by the Transport team. Just a reminder to the members of the committee that we're replacing the 3 My Way vans with 3 buses. All the fleet is low floor wheelchair accessible. There are a lot of new stops. And one of the benefits of changing all these stops in January is the ground is nice and hard, because we're going to find new places where people, for instance, with prams and wheelchairs, will want a hard concrete surface through winter to get on and off the bus. So we'll be very quickly identifying where some of those points are where we need to give special attention to making sure we've got the right accessibility at those stops. Bus drivers will continue to receive disability awareness training, and again, talking about accessibility, not only will we have our standard timetables, we'll have large print timetables, and the website is accessible as well. So next steps, the ambassadors are already on the ground, and you'll see them out and about at events and on buses, etc. Next week we'll have the new timetables available for distribution, and then after Christmas they will be heavily distributed. And the radio print media really starts in earnest next week as well. And on the 25th of January we'll launch our new network. That's what I want to finish presenting, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, great. Thanks very much, Russell. That's very encouraging. I think that looks a pretty sharp campaign. So, the people that were around the table that initiated this, Keith and Kate, you might want to comment.
You can comment. We haven't got public transport down south.
I know there's a lot of work went into this tonight, and it's been consulted on really well, because I've had feedback from people around Napier, and Russell has gone out and visited people, which is really good, rather than just an email or a telephone reply. And I've only seen 1 bus out there. Usually I sit here at a meeting and see about 10 of them empty. So you must have got rid of some of them already. But anyway, I think it's good that we're going to have main routes regular and not driving around 50-seater buses around little streets. And I mean, we were all pretty supportive of it. There was no comeback. I guess one thing I'd love to see a little bit more of is we mentioned the sports park, and I'd like to have seen the EIT mentioned a little bit more, because I think that's quite a biggie. I suppose I'm sticking up for something in Napier by saying that.
The arena as well, isn't it?
Yeah, so the arena and which are 2 big areas, but I'm looking forward to it happening, and people in Bayview and the airport getting transport. Great.
Yeah, Kate.
Yeah, sorry, I will add that I did mention when I took the RTC report back to my council and talked about what we'd done, the things of most note to us was improving the bus transport to the airport, to the regional sports park, to EIT, because that's when people from CHB and maybe Wairoa are coming down could actually park elsewhere and avoid all the congestion and everything.
That's a good point, actually, to
And
sort of
parking fees.
put that thought in people's mind that, you know, you stay at your motel, hop on the bus and, yeah, so good one. Derek, you might have a few issues in Hastings on bus stops.
Well, to be fair, you know, 2/3 of them are going ahead, no problem at all, no complaints. There is 40 odd that need some work with the people that live immediately near to them, but the HDC are getting in there and talking to people and just trying to iron out or really find alternatives that are close. But probably the best thing to me is to really, you know, put back to this committee that as I believe that if the route is not working,
change
it is going to get looked at and changed. I think that's brilliant, to be flexible.
Good, okay. Matt, any comment on the connection to the hospital?
No, it looks good, and I worked with Russell and looked at the GP outlets and pharmacies and other stuff like that, and I think it does a really good job of getting people access to health services as well, because I know that's key. And Te Whatu Ora, for those that know, fund free buses to the hospital for those that have outpatient appointments. So if they show their outpatient card, they can get a free bus to the hospital or Napier Health Centre as well.
Good. Excellent. Any other comment from anyone? Anyone up online that got a comment? No? Kate?
I just confirm that, so anyone with an outpatient appointment can get on any bus?
Yeah, if they're going to the hospital or
Yep.
appointment at Napier Health Centre, and also for Te Whatu Ora staff as well, that's funded by Te Whatu Ora, if I got that right, as well. So I could technically, you know, could get a bus to work as well for free as well for staff.
Alrighty, so we've got that report. It's thank you very much, Russell. I think the team have done a really super job on that. So we've got a just receiving note as well. Can I have a mover? Thanks, Louise, to that, and Kate. Receive that report. All those in favour will say aye. Those against will say no. We're at 11:05. Does anyone want a break, or what do you want to do? Just plough on, or just keep going?
Play on.
Yep, good, okay.
It's disappeared below.
Next one is pretty straightforward, and that's the Regional Transport Program, and you've pretty much covered that earlier. So do we take that one as read? Paper 5.3, Transport Program. You can get your microscope out and look at the program itself, but pretty straightforward there. So I'll take that as read. Can I have a mover to receive that paper, Keith and Derek? Thank you. All those in favour say aye. Aye. Still say no. That's carried. So we're up to 5.4.
That's right.
5.4. Public transport report. Is it?
Yes.
Okay. Is there much more to report out of?
No, just happy to take any questions.
Take it as read. Any questions on that report? No? Pretty straightforward, Kate?
You know, you're still seeing an uptake in total mobility in Central Hawke's Bay with the promotion that it actually exists?
Look, I haven't got the exact details for that, but I can report back to you directly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Nothing online? Look, let's just receive that report also. Take your own time to have a read if you need to. We'll have a mover for that. Thanks, Louise, and Kate again. Thank you. All those in favour will say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Carried. Now, road safe. Who's going to do that? Have we got a road safe person that comes and talks to us?
Not typically. They're normally on the road doing the job.
Look, let's not underestimate road safe. They do a great job on an oily rag, and particularly in our near our regions in the Central Bay, Wairoa, a lot of work that can be done because it's public facing. It's about getting to populations that sort of struggle to get compliant with all sorts of all manner of of requirements for road transport, licensing, child restraints, etc. I think that's a really important piece of work, and if we can get line of sight on those frontline workers there, it'd be good. And obviously Angela, when she's here, I'm sure it'll be a point of conversation for police to look at road safety. Also, Lisa, can you give us just a quick? I'd quite like to know where road safety sits with LTSA thinking at the moment. Have you got are you able to do that?
I do have an slide on the Community Road Safety Fund.
Okay. So
Otherwise, it really is dependent upon the government policy statement and the funding allocated to those activities.
Is it likely to? Have you got any intel on whether the government policy statement is interested at all in road safety, other than increasing road speeds?
We don't get much of an indication in advance, or at least anything I can share with you.
No, here's me. I'm going to take a chip at government over this. Local council's got a good old serve to say by the Prime Minister just recently to say we've got to stop councils doing dumb things. Well, I've got a retort to that is how do we stop governments doing dumb things? So anyway, that's my little chip for today. What have we got next? We need to receive that report from road safety. Again, can we have a mover for that, please? Keith and Kate, and all those in favour of receiving that road safe report, and we'll make a bit of a feature of it next time round. What are we doing next, Russell?
So we're on to the Waka Kotahi's director's report.
And that's Lisa?
Yes, I'm hoping the slides were sent through, that I can flick through.
Some slides in
How are we going, Ben? We still live?
I don't actually have them here.
Uploaded,
Sorry.
We always run into issues of plugging into the NZTA laptops.
Yes, you do.
So we got it up or not?
Give me a second, I can probably bring it up.
That's it, so.
So while we're getting that set up, I might just start by saying I just wanted to extend a welcome to all the new members, the new faces around the room. Nice to meet you, and it'll be fun getting you up to speed, and apologies for all of the acronyms. Transport is just riddled with them. So if you have any questions along the way, if you need clarification, if I'm dropping acronyms that you're not aware of, please feel free to ask.
Doing? Can we bring that up? Do you need it?
Just an email.
Do you need to? Shall we just park that for a moment and perhaps go to? So that's paper 5.6. We scoot on to 5.7. I think that's the last paper, isn't it? What have we got? What's 5.7?
It's the tree update. It's the tree update. Oh, so Daniel. Transport Report East Coast.
Okay, so Daniel, do you want to go and do your update on Trek, please?
Yep, in the past, because I'm the key role part of Trek's an alliance between both.
Microphone, please. Can you get
Sorry, I just might need to, hang on. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah, that's a little better. Not brilliant though, is it? Can you hear? There you go.
and that starts to.
He's gone completely now.
Come on, Durga. Are you still there, Dan?
Sorry, can you hear? Yes, yeah, just having all sorts of IT problems today. You can hear me?
Yes.
Where you go?
Yeah. Sorry, I was saying KiRail is part of the Trek Alliance, but NZTA is the far bigger group. So I can do a general update with specific focus on the KiRail piece. Does that sound okay?
Great, thank you.
I've just set up a meeting for the team to check.
Sorry, you wanted me? Are the slides visible? I wasn't able to see before if, online.
Same thing?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Can we get some of those, something about these things to sort of...
Yeah.
Oh, look, I'll go through it quite quickly if that's okay.
There you go.
There's pages in the pack that I think people can refer to, but quite quickly, Trek on the roading side, it's over 83%, over 80% complete. So Trek for Hawke's Bay is getting closer onto the home straight. Most state highway works will be completed in Hawke's Bay before Christmas, so really close. The remaining sites in 2026 are going to be on State Highway 38 and some asphalting works in State Highway 2 on the roading side. A piece that's been a real win with Trek, and this is from a rail perspective as well, is 80% of Trek work has been delivered from local contractors. I think some of them will possibly be new to the roading side, working with NZTA, but it's been the same for KiRail. There's been several local contractors that KiRail hadn't worked with before, and we are now. One of them, Galbraith, won some awards recently for some of that rail work they did down at Pakipaki, I think it was. And that was some culvert replacements done in blocks of line, actually really close to the state highway there, so people might have seen that driving south. The big piece of work probably that everyone's seen in Hawke's Bay is Devil's Elbow. There's some good slides in the pack just showing the difference between this time last year, and it's a massive difference from this time last year from the cyclone, but a stage difference again, building some significant retaining structures and drainage work on I call it Devil's Elbow, but within the project it's called Devil's Corner, the section up the grade towards the Napier side of that whole area. So work that's been completed in November, December for the roading side. There's been stuff around White Pine Bush. There's an underslip there, Lake Dutera, and Wakawa Hill, and quite a few bits. And this is where my roading knowledge is not as good. Road rebuilds around Sandy Creek, in a couple of other locations, and some culvert works. State Highway 2 is planned to be open to 2 lanes for Christmas throughout. NZTA will have their standard piece of lessening the amount of works on the road for Christmas road users. Then come 2026, there will be some State Highway 2 closures, particularly around the Devil's Elbow whole area. I think that's between later in January, 18th January to the 30th, and that's for doing 4.5 kilometres of new asphalting work. And there's some contingency dates because obviously some of this roading work gets really weather affected. The work on State Highway 5, believe will be all complete by December, if it's not already. There's been a few places with asphalting second coat seals, bit of a roading technical bit there, and some shoulder repairs around Estdale. 7 sites on State Highway 38. And like I said, there is going to be some work in 2026 in State Highway 28, generally going to be finishing up by mid-year. State Highway 51, there's a Tutaikuri bridge for the road, not the rail piece, at Waitangi, and that's the pile repairs underneath that bridge. Yeah, that should be finished this month. Just any questions on that roading stuff? I'll go to the rail stuff in just a sec.
Any questions on that from anyone on the road recovery items? So go launch into rail, give us 30 seconds on
Cool.
rail.
So a good piece of news is south of Hastings, we're pretty much finished. So all of the culvert works, some of which was additional resilience work over and above the storm damage, the work on the viaducts that are all south of Takapau, that is all complete, and lots of that ballast replacement. I for the previous committee, some might remember I showed pictures of our cool ballast cleaner. A bit of a rail-specific bit of kit. So that is all complete. And we're now solely working on the Waitangi Bridge, the one that was washed out in Cyclone Gabriel. And so that's a 3-stage process. And the bit that you'll see at the moment when you're on the either on the road bridge or on the cycleway, it's all wrapped in plastic. And that's for doing corrosion protection to paint the spans and the substructure that we put in the emergency work straight after the cyclone to make those permanent. Then in the new year, we replaced 4 of the spans to make them longer so that we can remove 2 of the old concrete piers. And that's to lessen the velocity of the flood flows under the bridge and reduce the scour risk and generally make it. We're involved in the Making Room for Rivers group, and we know it's not necessarily the long-term goals with flooding in that area, but it is to make it improve it from its current situation, a moderate amount. And then in the new year, it's nearly 20,000 cubic metres of silt to remove from the river berms, again to increase the flood flow area under the rail bridge, to make our structure get it up to a level we require, and in future working with Hawkesbury Regional Council, NZTA, the District Council and City Council about what is that longer term flood requirements and how can railway assist. And sorry, that river berm work that should be will be very weather dependent and happening somewhat during the winter, but we're trying to finish that by June 2026. And then for QRail, we will be finished with Trek, and similar-ish time I think the roading side will be finished, but both groups have markedly decreased for the Trek Alliance, but Trek and the roading piece keeps going up in Tairāwhiti for some time.
Great.
Yeah.
That's your report, Daniel?
Yes. Yep. And there's lots of pictures in the pack that's gone out.
Okay. Thank you so much for that report. A vital piece of work, Keith.
Daniel, have you got somewhere you want to shift that silt to?
We'd be open to ideas because it's something we've definitely discussed with NZTA is it usable in the expressway? So if someone's got an idea, we'll be open to talking about it.
Keith's garden.
I'll get someone to touch base with you.
Nice one. That'd be appreciated.
Through you, Chair, as you're probably aware, we've used a significant amount of silt in the building of the Hawkesbury Expressway. So we are doing all we can to make use of any clean silt in the region.
So don't take
We might take it off here for a cheap rate.
We'll be keen to chat about cheap rates. Yeah.
Daniel, look, a vital piece of recovery work, and most of the way through that, I would suggest that how many billions of dollars we've had. I mean, the regional council's in the midst of spending 260 mil on upgrading the stop banks, and then we've got the roading, and Hastings District have spent a vast fortune in recovery. So the region over the last 3 years has probably spent $1.5 billion in recovery. Extraordinary. It could be more. So thank you for that, and thank you for the report. We'll look forward to the 100% completion for Trek. I'm not sure what the time frame is for Trek. Do you know, Richard, at all? Look, again, another report to receive. I'm sure there's a mover for that, and that's Louise and Derek, so that's received. All those in favour of receiving those reports will say aye. Aye. Those against will say no. We're still waiting for technology to catch up with the 21st century. Okay, we're all ready to go. So we're going back to the 5.7, are we? What are we doing? 5.6. So this is your go, Lisa.
Right. I'll just let you know when to click on to the next one, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's warming up. When Linda returns, I believe that she will, she was in the midst of doing some kind of 101 updates on the role of NZTA and also what the role of NZTA is not sometimes, just to clarify for some of our new members around the table. Right. And so we'll move on to the next slide, please. And so you'll probably get a bit of an oversight on the NLTP on the next slide, but I'll just give you a quick highlight, and that is the National Land Transport Fund, known as the NLTF, is what funds the National Land Transport Program, and that's a 3-year program set out by NZTA. The fund itself is funded by road user charges, vehicle and driver registration and licensing, state highway property disposal and leasing, road tolling, and by law, it must be invested in land transport. That is often one of the challenges we face is we have to deliver on transport outcomes with all of our investment that it comes from the NLTF through the NLTP. Activities also must reflect a government policy statement on land transport. And we work alongside councils to make sure people in New Zealand have a land transport system that meets their needs now and the future by working with the RTC in the development of the Regional Land Transport Plan, which goes on to inform the National Land Transport Program. Next slide, please. So just to give you some high-level indication, we're going to have some exciting conversations to come. So the State Highway Investment Program is currently being drafted, our long list process, which will then be our state highway activities that will inform the RLTP and NLTP processes. And so this proposes state highway activities and nationally delivered programs. To do this, we consider all bids, then prioritize them using the Investment Prioritization Manual, known as the IPM, which was designed to help us make investment decisions that support the aims of the GPS. And so we'll keep you updated in the upcoming months on the progress of the SHIP, as well as any changes to any programming with the NLTP and RLTP development. So onto the evidence pack, I'll give you some highlights on this. Development of the pack is a collaborative process drawing on information and data from the transport sector. Sorry, next slide. As well as from NZTA. We have some information from local and regional partners, which will increase the value of this for future versions. And the intent of this information is a tool in the toolbox for NZTA and the wider sector to have at our disposal. It's also something that can help us in informing where we might focus some of our energy when we get to the regional land transport planning work. Next slide. We do have some changes underway in our maintenance space. The integrated delivery model, known as IDM, that program is continuing at pace with multiple work streams on track as we work towards launching the new contract model next year. And so we're on track to signal preferred contractors prior to Christmas, with contract signing expected in February. Professional services are also being procured at the same time, both for enduring services, short-term requirements, and embeds the new approach. The new model will commence the 1st of May, 2026, and we have undertaken a significant amount of work to get it to this point. Next slide, please. Thank you. So having confirmed the delivery of Mo2Move, which is our national ticketing solution interface, this is starting in Greater Christchurch with the introduction of contactless payment options for customers, and we're pleased to share our approach to rolling out Mo2Move across the main centres. This starts in Canterbury, and then shifts into Greater Wellington in early 27, Auckland in late 2027, and we're planning on rolling out to the smaller regions in 2026 and 2027. Each region will confirm its specific transition plan and own timing to ensure a smooth transition for local communities. And as the rollout gets closer and dates are confirmed, we'll be communicating timeframes at a regional level. So the Road Efficiency Group, also known as REG, this is where the Transport Insights Performance Dashboard is accessed by routing teams at every council in New Zealand to support decision-making. The dashboard pulls together metrics that reflect not just how much is being spent, but also how well that spending translate into service quality and safety outcomes for road users. Go ahead and go to the next one. The Community Road Safety Fund supports community-led and community-delivered road safety initiatives. Funding for this comes from the sale of personalized plates. The purpose is to enable communities to deliver road safety initiatives that are important to them, and that creates safer communities. We recognize the community organizations are uniquely placed to identify issues relevant to them and to use their connections to make a positive impact. So the Community Road Safety Fund opened to applications on the 14th of October this year and closed at 5 p.m. on the 2nd of December. And so we can report back in the new year on the status of the outcome of that. So NZTA has refreshed its organizational strategy to reflect the changing environment it operates in and evolving expectations of its customers, partners, and government. The strategy sets a clear direction for NZTA, focused on delivering the right things in the right way with strong performance and measures across its core legislated role. Those are the planner, investor, regulator, deliverer, asset manager, and customer service provider. It also connects the work NZTA does every day to its purpose, which is transport networks that deliver for people, places, and New Zealand. And while this is an internal strategy endorsed by the NZTA board, it will be shared with key stakeholders as part of NZTA's broader engagement approach over time. As far as speed management on state highways, one of the key things we're prioritizing is the speed signs, the intersection speed zones, and so those are variable speed signs, the VSLs, and speed changes needed for projects and a small number of community requests. In Hawke's Bay, 7 schools will be treated, and Design is underway and installation planned for April of 2026. Looking at some of the significant activities in our current RLTP, I'll give a more robust update on the expressway and Waikato Gorge realignment, as well as the CVSC and Napier in just a moment. However, the public transport business case is going to our internal VOS before it goes forward for decision on that. And that's what's informed your public transport service improvements. Also, the State Highway 2 Waipokora revocation is slated to get underway next fiscal year. We're in early discussions on the scope and approach on that with Central Hawke's Bay at this point in time. And then also we have the addition of projects under $2 million to the delivery pipeline, which hopefully will get you an update next time when we get more information. So looking at the Hawke's Bay Expressway, most of you would have been on our recent project live call on the 1st of December. This has been such a good news story for us, which we're all quite proud of this piece of work in our region. The outcomes of this work means that the worst case journey time between Napier and Hastings is expected to reduce by 8 minutes initially, which makes trips more predictable. Also, the resilience of the expressway will be improved through new structures built to modern standards. And the project is expected to deliver a reduction in deaths and serious injuries of around 5 to 7 by 2048. As you're aware, in May this year, the Minister of Transport, Chris Bishop, announced $7.65 million approved for the groundwork along Naruroro River Bridge and further geotechnical investigations along the corridor. Prior announcements were made for several packages of work of funding that had been approved by the NZTA board for enabling works ahead of this approval. Just to tie in with that, as there was previous discussion on some investment case work, it should be noted that we have the Hawke's Bay System Plan and the RLTP, which is meant to get underway next year. This is a strategic transport planning piece of work, which will take a long-term strategic look at the transport system, including future growth and development, and will help shape a pipeline of future regional transport projects, including consideration of further sections of the Hawke's Bay Expressway. And we anticipate this being inclusive of all modes. And also in our conversations with Regional Council around the resilience work, that will be a consideration as well. So we are developing early scoping of that with our council partners and commencing the appropriate model updates required to inform this piece of work next year. So a few more details since the last update on the expressway project itself. We've refined the design of the Links Road, Pacify Road interchange to make the interchange merge into existing lanes safer and more efficient. The merge will move slightly further south beyond the Tutaikuri Waimata Stream Bridge, approximately 1 kilometer. A new bridge will be built on the western side of the existing one. And so this approach gives drivers more space to merge safely, reduces risk of further congestion, and supports long-term plans of the expressway. It should be noted that all works will stay in the designation and no new intersections or property acquisitions will be required. There are also no changes to environmental or property impacts already considered in the new investment case. And the cost of the overall project and existing funding should fall within the envelope of 600 to 700 million, with the project remaining on track to be completed in late December of 2029. As far as managing disruption, we'll aim to reduce that, however, as much as we can. Project neighbors and road users should still expect some level of temporary inconvenience due to construction activity. They may notice noise, vibration, dust, and changes to traffic. Nighttime works may be required for safety and traffic management, especially for the bridge deck deliveries and road tie-ins. Piling at the Miami Road overpass will also start in late January 2026, and at Kennedy Road overpass in late April 2026. A few other things to note is both the existing and new lanes will be resurfaced with low noise asphalt, and this solution tackles traffic noise directly at the source and is widely recognized as the most effective and proven method for reducing road noise. And on to the next slide, please. So the Napier CVSC, the Commercial Vehicle Safety Center, we also had the groundbreaking of that the same week as we had the minister out for the expressway. Work started on Sunday the 7th of December at the State Highway 50 and Bridge Street Way in Motion site. It should be noted there will be night works for 5 nights to repair a 100-meter section of the southbound lane for the installation of in-road scales and an APNR camera next year. Also, work is scheduled to begin at State Highway 51 Georges Drive from Friday the 12th, today, and over the weekend. To Waikari Gorge realignment. In July, we signed the project partnership agreements with MTT and Nare Pahawera. Also in July, registrations of interest for the design and construct contract with possible contractors closed, and have now gone to tender on the 13th of August, which closes in December. We expect to award the contract early in the new year, and construction will begin after that, pending property agreements. So this is a bit of an update on the drawdown of funding. This visibility is being provided to track progress across all the activity classes and to flag any risks or issues. The light blue is the RLTP baseline allocation for this, the 24 to 27 timeframe. The dark blue is the spend to date, and the hash blue is spend needed to claim the allocation. And this is based on historical spend and performance data. This kind of emphasizes the importance of your officers working with our investment advisors, which hold regular meetings with your teams to address any concerns, timing of changes, and particularly change of priorities for councils. Bye. All right. Well, that brings us to the end.
Right, thank you.
I know that's a lot of information, so apologies for going so quickly, but happy to take any questions.
Yeah, it's a very comprehensive report. So any questions on what you've seen there? Yes, please help us out there.
Police officer now. I was just saying, is there on the bridge is going to be any room, is there any cycleways or walking at all? You know, otherwise we end up in a situation like Waipukurau and Waipawa.
It's, as far as the existing current project, it is not in scope. However, there is future consideration for what might be required if a future connection is possible.
I think that's a no.
That's a no.
That's a no.
Yes, so as far as the government priorities go and the GPS is concerned, it's 4-laning of the expressway. But obviously, we take in consideration future needs. So.
Great, okay. Anything else, any other questions that arise out of that?
Just a second question from the community safety plan. Was there much input from any Hawke's Bay communities?
I can't speak to the outcome of the safety program, unfortunately. So I think probably you'll get an update from Linda when she returns in the new year.
All righty. Look, thank you very much for that, Lisa. It's a very comprehensive report, and there's appendices attached to that. So do that some bedtime reading your own time. Have a mover to receive that report. Thank you, Kate, and thank you, Keith. All those in favour will say aye.
Aye.
We'll do that. Thank you. We've done Trek. We're up to the last hurrah, I think.
Did we move and see that?
Two more. What have we got? 5.8. Oh, okay. So we've had a bit of a round robin earlier. Is there any other thoughts that advisory representatives want to make? Got any comment from? I take advisory representatives are sitting at the back or to the side. So are there any other issues that you folk want to contribute to, please? Connie, Jag? No? Right. What about you guys? Are you...
Just perhaps one comment. We recently, there was a meeting with the SAD coordinator that was in the region, and we invited Russell to come along and meet with the coordinator as well. There's a lot more interest in Hawke's Bay. SAD is driven by students, and up until recently there's only been really a couple of schools that have been particularly interested in the activities. But we're quite encouraged with the with increased interest in SAD and its operations, and to the point that we understand there's the next student leader is actually from St John's College in Hastings. So for the next 12 months, they've got a conference planned in Hastings, I think, in March of next year. So we'll be interested to see how that progresses. And the only other thing, I just took note of a recent survey that was done across the country of members' experiences and how transport ranks across the Motu. And in Northland, they're most dissatisfied with road conditions, funnily that. In Auckland, they're most dissatisfied with congestion. And in Wellington, of course, they're the highest bus users in the country. But in Hawke's Bay, we're most dissatisfied with other driver conduct, which I thought was quite interesting. And that's it from me.
Right. Thanks, David. I just wonder whether we actually, as part of the road safe commentary, just get us a bit of info around SAD, and we can make it a bit happier than SAD. So yes. Next time round. So yeah, if we just incorporate that at the next meeting, just bring a bit of an update on its current state. So a really good point. That youth contact with youth is a big thing we can contribute to, making sure we get messages out there and get some better road safety. But I'm also interested in that behaviour contact after this morning altercation, being given the heave ho from down the roundabout when you don't go fast enough or something like that, just stupid stuff. It's interesting that we've got that behaviour going on. So maybe we can get a bit of a sense of what we can do about that, Kate.
Yeah, there's been a lot of social media has a lot of negatives, but
yes.
Some of the positives are people telling on other people, driving dash cams, a lot of the Excel's highway issues page, CHBs. There's a particular couple of youths that are getting highlighted on a page this morning for behaviour and a sign written vehicle. Parongaho Road, that driver behaviour is really being highlighted in Hawke's Bay, but it's also being stamped on reasonably quickly by other road users. But yeah,
policemen want to comment next time round too. So, yeah. Thank you so much for that. Have you got anything, Ian?
Nothing further from me.
Nothing further. Online, is there anything that is annoying you at the moment?
Just a comment from my side that obviously 26 is around the corner, which means January onwards, seasonal volume will ramp up through Napier Port, and obviously, which means on the network, just a lot more trucks on the road. And attached to that, we'll be in contact with NZTA through Andre, because of while we totally support the SH2 4 laning great news. Some of disruption during that peak season could have an impact on the local sort of exporters if it really impacts the turnaround time for trucking during that high volume season. So yeah, just something to highlight, and I'm sure we'll find some mitigation sort of ways to lessen the impact.
Right, thanks.
I'm talking especially about the bridge, the bridge on the SH2, the Tukari Bridge.
The works on the bridge.
Thanks.
Works on the bridge.
Any other comment? I don't know if is that a recommendation at all on that one?
Chair, for this last item, it's something that I kept asking for last Training, because I think we were hearing from the advisory members around the table, but not from us, from the RCAs, and I thought it's quite a good opportunity just to, not things of a regional level, but for us to bring up some of the transport issues that we're dealing with on a district level, and there may be things that we can help each other with, or it's just of interest. So you mentioned the Fernhill Bridge earlier. It's kind of a finding out about that sort of thing around this table as well. So I do have a little blurb prepared for CHBDC if I may
Great, no,
deliver
please
it.
do. Yeah, no, great idea. The whole notion of representation for we push down as far as we can to get that feedback. So look, good thinking to get it on the table. So
Yeah.
away you go.
So the big thing for us at the moment is that we're in the middle of procuring a new maintenance contract, which for us, we got approval from NZTA for a 10-year contract, which is worth $10 million a year. So for CHBDC, it's quite a large contract. It's combined road maintenance, reseals and area-wide pavement treatment to attract more competition, get better value for money for that. As I said, a 10-year length, which encourages innovation and leadership with the contractors that are going for it. It includes a percentage of local hire, which for us is a huge plus to get more of our local contractors being used, more local employment, more businesses, and that's with by local we mean with a recognised base in Central Hawke's Bay. It has, so it'd be interesting to see that process go through over the next few months. That's due to come into place in June. We are looking to right-size everything at the moment. One of our biggest challenges is balancing expectations with budgets, which is what everybody's facing. And one of the issues, another issue we have is balancing the expectations on gravel road users. What is being said by the users, what is being said by us, what is said by contractors and consultants is often a case of never the twain shall meet. And so I'm sure our officers at that level are hopefully we're all talking to each other and figuring out what other district councils are doing in terms of improving that knowledge, improving the processes that we use for those gravel roads. One thing we have at the moment, and I've been talking to Linda previously about the melting roads. It's not just us, it's NZTA roads, it's Hastings roads, Wairoa. I saw a truck get stuck on a passing lane on Wairoa a couple of years ago. So it's not a new thing, but again, I mentioned social media before, it's becoming an easier thing to complain about, and it's getting harder and harder to bust the myths about why it's happening and what we can do to stop it. So I would appreciate more that becoming a thing that the councils talk about with each other and with the NZTA, so that we're all hitting that issue at the same time or with the same reasoning and the same arguments. Lastly, we have numerous small recovery projects over the next couple of years with no major ones on the horizon now, other than working with NZTA on the revocation of that highway through Waipukaro. As part of that, thank you, Sean, for these words. We will relinquish Bogle Brothers and Peel Street, which is the current bypass, to NZTA, and we will gain Ruataniwha Street. So that's the one I mentioned earlier. And it's working out the process, and the business case is being done at the moment. So thank you for taking the time to listen to that, and hopefully as I said earlier, I just wanted to encourage us to talk to each other about the work that we're doing from a governance level and hopefully encourage more conversations between us.
Good. Yeah, well done. Keith?
Just probably I've got to mention My Way. I mention it at every meeting for the last, I don't know how many years. I guess one day we'll have a funeral and put it to bed properly, but it isn't still in our plan, isn't it?
Yes.
So it's one of those ones you leave there that might come back, because I think with our transport system, it is quite a good attachment to it. And it'll be interesting to see from surveys once we get running if a missing it comes out. Thank you.
Thanks, Keith.
We're going to do Frank Sinatra when it comes.
No other comments on that particular. I think we segue nicely into the very final paper now, because that's about what we do from here in terms of that local voice. So can I just have a mover to receive that particular 5.8 paper? Oh, sorry, Derek. Sorry, you've had a commentary before, but please, is there something else you'd like to bring to the table from a Hastings District perspective?
Personally, no, I don't think so, but what I'd like to do is pass this over. No, I won't pass it over to Jan. Oh, okay.
You left it the right moment. Note for next time.
No, I don't think so. Look, obviously I'm very new here, but as far as I'm concerned, I think the whole roading and bus operations are just all heading in the right direction, and I think it's fantastic to see it all coming together.
Good. Okay. Just in terms of those various points that members have raised, sort of the itch and scratch issues that we want to see up on the table, I wonder if we can just assemble those and distribute perhaps just a summary of those and comment on those, add to them, but particularly go back to your colleagues and say, this is what we talked about. Is there anything particular that anyone else around your respective tables might want to contribute as well? So we just keep grounded in what's happening within our communities. So that's something I think we ought to focus in on. So if we could just distribute those and think about, what was contributed, but what else could be tabled. Anything else around the table? If not, we'll go on to just receive that particular paper, that item. All those, anyone move that for me? Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Louise. All those in favour will say aye. So we've done that one. Thank you. And so finally, and I'm in a rush to get by 12, which was the promise, and one of the biggies is actually on the table for 5.9 local government reform. And I'd be interested to know whether you want to have a discussion about that now, or we make it a significant point of discussion for particularly each of the councils to bring back or to have raised at the next transport meeting. Have you got any views, Keith, on how we go about this?
Next meeting, I would suggest a bit of time would be quite good, I think, and hopefully we
know more.
Yep. That would be. We'll be guessing a lot of what we're talking about if we did it today.
Derek.
My instructions are it's a little premature.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Kate.
Yeah, agree with it being premature, but I also, even though I'm on that regional transport committee, I've been thinking about all these other things and not actually considering what it meant for transport and the reform. So, whilst we might be able to do pest control or something like that on a more district basis, but regional transport, having that spatial plan, everything, it's too early to.
Yeah.
Through the chair, the submissions are closed on the 20th of February, so our next meeting would be too late to discuss any submission.
Okay. Number one, do we want to make a submission to local government? And have we got sufficient way on to do that.
I think we have, Mr Chair.
Okay.
Personally, I don't think we have. Will the regional council be making a submission?
Yes.
Which will cover. Never ask a question unless you know the answer.
I wonder if we just to sort of meet that timeline, which is always problematic, that regional council does prepare its submission, and in the transport section we circulate that.
Yeah.
And if you've got a comment to make or have a different view, let us know what that looks like. Is that a fair way of going about that? So we're distributed across all parties, and we'll have something to say. And one of the things from my perspective is ensuring our regional voice, our local voice, and any entity that, if you like, it's centralised to Wellington, we've got a problem. But maintaining our regional voice is bottom line. So if you see that in a draft submission, you'll know what that looks like. And if you've got an idea yourself that you want explored, just flick Russell an email, and we'll prepare that and circulate before that date. Kate?
I think also the onus is probably on you and Louise as the regional council reps on this committee to make sure that transport is well highlighted in the regional council submission.
Sure. Okay.
And I think you would have our support obviously to do so.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Nothing else from anyone on the board or around the table, because the bewitching hour is midday, and that's when we stop. So anything else, guys? No. All right. Look, I'm happy to declare the meeting closed. Oh, okay. I do need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Kate and seconded by Derek. All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Look, thank you for attendance. Good first meeting. We'll get our heads around this and do good things for the region. So, thank you for attendance. All good on